Tonight we will go deep into the realm of the unknown and question everything as we search for the truth. We will explore the possibility of countless phenomena within the ultra spectrum, and together we will learn that it is all connected. This podcast is brought to you by the Experiencers Support Association, and it is a live stream broadcast. If you have a question, send me a super chat or become a YouTube member. This podcast is brought to you by the Experiencers Support Association. Take a seat, relax, get ready, and welcome to Beyond the Tinfoil Hat.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Beyond the Tinfoil Hat. Today is Thursday, October 3rd, 2023, and I, Ryan Stacey, am your host this evening. I'm a licensed private investigator in Ontario, and I apply my skills to the UFO, paranormal consciousness phenomenon as the Director of Investigations for the Experiencer Support Association. Welcome to the channel and thank you for joining us. For those who are already YouTube channel members or thinking of becoming one, remember that you get priority over the questions. You also get behind the scenes, extended footage, bloopers, and access to my members only programs. All you have to do is click the big blue button that says join, and while you're there, hit the bell so you can be notified when all members of TESSA release their latest content. Okay, our guest for season 5, episode 10 is Corbie Mitleid. Did I say that right, or Mitleid? Mitleid. All right, I see. All right, Okay, you'll correct me on that. Corbie has been reading since 1973. She has traveled coast to coast and into Canada as a full-time intuitive counselor and is an inspirational speaker and facilitator. Corbie's certifications and affiliations included Certified Tarot Master and Certified Professional Tarot Reader, member of the American Tarot Association and the Tarot Guild, and an ordained minister of the Sanctuary of the Beloved Order of, I can't say that word, Melchizedek. It's German. She's German, isn't she? I'm guessing. A trained medium and past life specialist. Corbie is a featured channel in Robert Schwartz breakthrough series, Your Soul's Plan, Your Soul's Gift, and Your Soul's Love. And herself the author of Clean Out Your Life Closet, The Psychic Yellow Brick Road, and You've Got the Magic, Who Needs a Genie? Corbie prides herself on being a practical intuitive. Despite her elegant clothes and table trappings, most people say sitting with her is comfortable. A comfortable, safe place, safe experience that feels like they're with a longtime friend, not a stranger, spouting a bunch of mystical hoodoo and pretense. Pardon me. And she doesn't believe in bad news. We have opportunities we can go after and challenges to get past, she says firmly. After dealing 3 times with breast cancer, she learned firsthand. My job is to give you the tools and courage to deal with both situations. Everything else is free and will end up to you. That's a quote from her. So you can find Corbie at Corbie Mitleid. So spell that CORBIEMITLEID.medium.com, and also on social media. So I do apologize for my tardiness this morning. I do come into these things rough and dry, so that way I don't have a chance to know who my guest is. But I only speak English, not very well though. All right, Corbie, how you doing?
Good, and actually, I'm from New York. It's okay.
Right? Okay.
Right. The let's do the name first. Corbie Mitleid is a chosen name. I kid around and say it's my Elton John name. If you remember, Elton John was Reggie Dwight before. Corbie is Gaelic for raven. Ravens and crows, they're my baby birds. And Mitleid, Mitleid is the German word for compassion, which reminds me why I do the work I do.
Okay. Is there a German connection at all, though?
2 lives ago, yes. Okay. I think my one set of grandparents was from Germany, but I'm a Philly girl who lives up in the northern Catskills now.
Awesome. All right. Well, sorry for for butchering that. There.
You're not the first, Ryan. Don't worry about it.
Oh, well, I signed in late and I forgot to ask, so that's on me. All right, so we usually start with an icebreaker question. All right, I always forget how loud that is. Okay, so today's icebreaker question for both of us is brought to us by our support group called Experiencers Anonymous, which we're currently looking for a new facilitator. So if anybody out there are interested, just send us an email to admin@experiencersupport.org. So our icebreaker question is simple and perhaps fun. What is your favorite type of sandwich and why?
Oh, well, then you have to go up to Maine. One of those fresh lobster on a toasted butter roll sandwich, which is so bad for you in terms of fat and cholesterol. It's a good thing I only indulge a couple of times a year.
That sounds good.
Oh, baby. Let me tell you.
I was going to say tomato sandwich for me. I like tomato sandwich. Basic, but it's good. They're good. Good tomato. And there we go. Okay, and then that's it. Next question is, why are you the way that you are? And what I mean by that is start as far back as you want. The earlier the better, and let me know how you got to here, and from there I'll make some notes, and then we'll see where the conversation goes.
Well, the flippant answer is, how did I get here? You know, my family would really love to know, and they haven't figured it out. I come from a completely medical family. Dad was a cardiologist, mom was a nurse, my brother is pediatric pulmonology. Me, I was the actress, writer, hippie rebel. I could have danced on the dining room table and recited Shakespeare, and they wouldn't have gotten me. So went to Brown University for 2.5 years, then out into the world. The whole thing started when I was 9. I read a book called The Witch Family by Eleanor Estes, and I thought, ooh, there's magic in the world. I want to go find it. In 1973, when I was a senior in high school, and yes, darlings, that tells you how old I am, I was working part-time at Spencer Gifts. They had the James Bond 007 tarot deck, and I bought it because we were all hippies then. You had your elephant bell-bottoms and your David Crosby fringe jacket and your deck. 5 years later, everybody else had moved on to roller skates and disco balls. I was still working with the cards because they fascinated me. So I read for friends for 20 years, making sure that I was clear for the information. My ego was on the shelf. All of a sudden, in the early 90s, I found I could do hands-on healing and talk to dead people. That was when the universe handed me my draft notice and said, hello, you're working for us. So I did this part-time for years. Very checkered career: actress, author, inspirational speaker, video producer, legal assistant, writer for the graphic novel series ElfQuest, until 9/11, when my husband and I watched the towers burn, and I turned to him and I said, Carl, I need to do the other work full time. People need to know there are other answers out there. He looks at me and says, I believe in you, go do it. So for 1 more year, I worked 70 hours corporate, did the psychic work evenings and weekends. 2002, shut the door in corporate, and ever since then, it's been 6 days a week, 14 hours a day. I read about 1,000 people a year, and I get to get up in the morning. I don't have to get up in the morning. That's the key.
I like it. You're running it.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay. Have you ever had? That was like a really fast explanation. So, but which is good. Like, I'm trying to pick it apart there. So if we go back before the psychic medium part, I guess in the 90s, have you ever, like, how did you come to know that you got this draft, as you said? You know, how did that feel to you? Like, what was that experience?
Gobsmacked, frankly. When I was first starting to do this in the 90s, I was working with a woman in the West. She has always hidden herself because she had twins and was afraid that her ex-husband would take them if he knew what she did. But we were doing a lot of past life exploration. And I saw who I was. And we were also working with some past life regression stuff for her. She knew things she could not know. because the information was in books from 1898. She talked about train tracks and stations that were no longer around, but were around in World War I, because the World War I thing was our big connection. And I was staying at her place out in Colorado, and we all of a sudden both saw a short, stocky man, looks like World War II German aviation, and we figured out who that was. That he had committed suicide, egged on by Hermann Goering. Now, we did some work to help release that part of his soul from the purgatory it had put itself into. That night, she and I both had the same dream. We saw somebody's picture slammed off the wall. We saw the German air building burning, kind of like the Reichstag, but it was Luftstreitkräfte. And we compared notes. This was all connected with Goering. As she drove me to the airport, we saw a license that said Iron Man 5. What was Goering's nickname, but Iron Man. So when I got home to Atlanta at that point, and I was single at this, I hadn't yet really learned the basics, ground center, shield, all the things like that to protect yourself. And all of a sudden, I was in one of those wonderful big shirts, plaid, and the tail of it stood right up in front of me, and I heard a voice that says, "Now do you believe I can't get in?" And I felt hands around my neck. Now, I got to the phone. She and I got rid of it. But I immediately called on a dear friend of mine that I have known for 45 years. We'll just say his name is Adam. And he has a neon sign on the astral that says, "I'm a professional. I don't care." So he came out from where he was living in the Midwest to Atlanta to help me corral this. Only person I've ever known to get a 6-foot ceremonial sword through the metal detector because they thought it was golf clubs. Yeah, this was the early 90s. It wasn't before everything went crazy. And we bottled up the Goering spirit. That told me that I was being noticed by both light and dark sides. So that's when I learned all the basics, how to take care of myself, and found that my talent is working with the rookies who don't know anything from Adam's house cat, to help them not be scared of this, but stay safe and understand what they're looking at. Does that answer the question? You're muted.
Thanks. Sorry, I had a noise in the background. I forgot about that. But I was just saying, I like rookies who can't speak English very well early in the morning, like this guy. Full disclosure, no, I had to bring my child to school, and we were running a little bit late, so I'll admit that to the collective. Okay, so I like to dive into more of the, like, how do you know? Not in a term, not in a way of saying this didn't happen, but trying to understand what that experience is like for you, because there's others who may have experienced it or aren't understanding it, or maybe they've experienced it and never made this, this woo, quote unquote, connection, right? So when you say you bottled up a spirit, like, is that a literal bottling up, or like,
no, it's
what does that mean to you?
we managed to, if you will, astral wise, put up enough barriers between me and them. Since then, I understand that what we were getting wasn't an evil soul. Okay. The Goering personality was difficult to deal with. But,
Right.
People very often ask me, since I'm a past life specialist, well, you say we have pre-birth planning, but the Bible says we have free will. Which is it? And I say it's both, because it is. Your pre-birth plan is what you come down here to learn. It's usually one of 5 things in general. healing, service, contrast, unbalanced energy, and healing of beliefs. That's choosing your college major. But how you do that, whether you always get the signals and you turn in the right direction, that's living gut course. Or like me, you kept fighting everything. That's double major plus lab. And my life was difficult. Okay. So the key is, Ryan, Corbie, we are one and done. This particular recipe will never be down here again. We're down here to learn certain things. The soul, when we die, cross over, drop the body, takes what we've learned and hangs up this particular personality in the closet. The closer we get to the good stuff, the more likely it is that some of the personality is retained. Let me use an example. My father was my best friend. He and I had the same birthday. He's the only one who really kind of understood what his daughter was about. Well, when I do medical intuitive work and I have zip knowledge of medicine, sometimes he will come in and give me a hand. What comes in? Well, he still puns terribly. Death cannot get rid of that. But his medical knowledge, his kindness, his incisiveness, his compassion. What's gone? His anxiety and depression. That was what the soul used in the personality to learn while down here. Another example to use is, let's take the actor Matt Smith. Okay, Matt was the 11th Doctor on Doctor Who. He was my doctor. But when he hung up the bow tie and the too short pants, he went and played Prince Philip for the first 2 seasons of The Crown. When he was done playing the prince, he hung up the maritime uniform, and now he's some whack job in House of the Dragon. Matt Smith is like our soul. The doctor, the prince, and the whack job are all personalities. They don't know each other. They're completely different from each other, but they are animated by the one actor, the one soul. So the Hermann Goering personality that we had to work with is not the whole soul was awful. It was that energy signature personality is what we had to deal with. Make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense. I appreciate that breakdown because, like I said, it's human. You know, that's the kind of also identifies the flaws that we have as being human. And then when we pass, essentially we could become God-like if we were made in God's image in a sense at that point, and it removes the flaw, right? And
pretty much.
Personality would be, you know, flawless. I would hope, and that sounds that's good to know. But you communicate with them. So is this a feeling? Like, how do you know? Like this is a sense, right? Like you cannot.
And everybody does it differently.
The absence of negative energy, does that mean it's good? Or it just means that negative energy isn't there at that time?
Pretty much with someone like my father, all right, he's done all of his stuff. There's no need for his difficulty to come in. It doesn't help with what I'm doing. Because we were trying to work with that World War II soul that had the connection with the World War II Goering. That's when the Goering fragment came in and had to be dealt with. Because I had a World War I German life who may have had connection with Goering. That's another way that the connection was made. I found that I tend to be a doorway for some souls, especially the soldiers. First time I had that experience was 94, maybe 95. In my living room in Atlanta, all of a sudden, I saw this World War I German soldier. And when I say saw, I see an energy shimmer, but here the complete vision is. And, you know, it was your typical little, you know, trench soldaten. This much of his face was gone because this much had apparently been blown away. You know, you get out and see guts and stuff. That's bad B movies. And the first thing they always want to know is who won. And you got to explain. Doesn't matter. You get them to forgive the person who killed them, forgive themselves for what they had to do, kill. And then you can get them, the phrases go into the light. You can release that soul fragment from here. It's no longer lost. Okay. How do I know what I know about World War I? All right. I grew up My father had been with the occupation army in Vienna in 46, so scared of Germans, nightmares about Germans, couldn't stand the language, and knew nothing about World War I. Zip none. My history was Tudor England, Wars of the Roses. In 91, I went with a friend to the old Rhinebeck Aerodrome in Rhinebeck, New York. It is a museum that has 1909 Blérios to Barnstormers. And one day, every weekend, when they're doing flying shows, they do World War I stuff. He wanted to go see me. I wanted to go to Woodstock, which was a few miles away. So I saw the American planes and the British planes and the French planes, and yeah, yawn. All of a sudden, they see an Albatross D5, and then a Fokker triplane. That's the Red Baron and Snoopy plane. And all of a sudden, there was like a soundless explosion in my head, my heart. And as I watched them fly, the two things I thought were, there's a story behind that one, and I flew that. Within 24 hours, I had to hear German. I recognized pilot faces, some I loved, some I couldn't stand. So I knew there was a connection, and I had to do some of my own work at that point, find spirit guides, whatever. What I found, and I saw this face before I had found who he was, the pilot that I was, and a lot of my own personal habits apparently were his, how I stand, phraseology in English, which was his in German. Weirdly, he was an engineer that played the violin. My grandfather could have gone to Juilliard for violin, but his father said, no, we have a factory. You're going to go and be an engineer. So there were a lot of those resonances. That seems to be why I had the affinity for helping soldiers cross. And that to me is an example of people who come to me and say, oh, I know I must have been Anne Boleyn because I can't wear turtlenecks on face. No. Mm-hmm. But one of the reasons that I had to be that person was in those days, Germans were anti-Semitic. And I have a memory of myself being introduced to a fellow named Wilhelm Frankel, who was the only Jewish pilot who ever got the Blue Max, the Purple Marine. And he stuck out his hand. I remember putting my hands behind my back and nodding very currently. Well, isn't it interesting that I was born into a Jewish family this time? And for some reason, until I did this work, I always felt like I kind of got on the wrong bus. Nice, normal, typical 1960s family in, Philadelphia, Cherry Hill, New Jersey kind of thing. So once I understood where that came from, the feeling of getting on the wrong bus dissipated. When you see why the soul chooses to learn certain things in certain lives, you can usually unplug the emotional charge.
Okay. So, okay. I gotta ask, because you mentioned Germany and the aircrafts. Did you ever see any, just because it's current, have you ever seen them use or operate any unidentified flying objects, flying saucers?
And I live out in the Catskills where it's dark. No. Somebody in my Patreon group took some pictures recently that it's a little weird. And she didn't see these things until she looked at the film. She didn't see them with a naked eye. But when she was taking a picture of that beautiful moon, all of a sudden there was all of this stuff moving around underneath. And so, you want, and I can get her to send that to you. She's up in your neck of the woods. Do I think there's other stuff? Oh, God. Are you kidding? We are a tiny little dust mote planet at the end of a middling galaxy, and we think we're the only live things out there? Whoa. Check your hubris, guys. So I'm sure there are, but I tend toward the sign I saw recently that said, when aliens fly by Earth, they lock their doors. I mean, we are really not ready for first contact.
I didn't mention aliens. I just asked unidentified flying objects, and it's
I
interesting.
mean, UFO is alien.
People associate, UFOs with aliens, but that doesn't mean that they're piloted by aliens. So specifically, the reason why, because I published declassified documents from the Canadian government on the respective part of the UFOs. I do have some documents on my website that speak to the RCMP and the Defense Research Boards, where they've interrogated some German engineers during the Cold War. And they come to the conclusion that Germany has flying saucers, and that was the end of that was it. There was no aliens attached to it. There was no association to it. This alien thing.
First I've heard.
So
you're saying that the stuff that my buddy saw a few days ago might have been a German flying saucer?
Well, the technology, but they might have created back then. Who made it first? Who knows? The secrecy, that's a whole different ball.
Yeah, but I don't think in World War One. Two, maybe, but not World War One.
To the inception, right? Because back then, that was the hunt for the technology. That was the hunt for the, to get access to all these things. And now they have access, and it's divided some way, right? So, but I just want to, just because they say UFOs doesn't mean aliens. So, with aliens, though, you're right. If we are as big as the galaxy as we're told, if that's true, or even if we're not as big as some other people believe, the idea of another species could exist. But does that coexist with the paranormal side or the consciousness side in terms of the medium spectrum? So, like, how would that interfere with what you do?
Look, if you remember Mark Twain's story, a Connecticut Yankee in King Arthur's Course, he time traveled, and they thought he was a huge sorcerer because he had a box of matches. Okay. They thought that was magic. He knew that was merely simple science. We'll never know how everything connects because we're like ants in a calculus class. Not only does the poor little ant not even know basic math, he can't even hold the pencil in his little paw. We can make guesses, but there's way too much for us to figure out. So
if an extraterrestrial is in the room and there's a human in the room, sounds like it's start of a bad joke, but
and the rabbi, and they all walk into a bar. Yeah, no.
So in that case scenario, I'm just trying to figure out that if you started to do your mediumship or however, try to tap in and listen, could you tell the difference between the two?
Maybe, but that's only a guess. Now you're getting into esoteric philosophy. Do aliens have souls? Are they like human souls? Some people that I know think they were Pleiadians and now they're doing a foreign exchange student in a human soul.
Well, I mean,
you can guess.
Aliens could be as simple as beings on a different continent and coming over to another place which they don't originate from. So in some belief systems, there's extra land on this planet. And
Lemuria, Atlantis,
if they were to come from that land to our territory, we would consider them aliens. So are they actually aliens? Like space aliens, I think, is where you're focusing from. But that's assuming that they came from space. We don't know that. No. And if we were created by God and God's image, it's likely that we're aliens.
Very possible.
When you're reading,
they are admitting now that there are multiple universes. Pure science admits it. So it could be that the person who's sitting next to us melted in from the universe that's right next to ours.
So what I'm building on is trying to emphasize on how complex the data is in the ether, in the ultra spectrum, in this space where you're collecting.
Honey, you're preaching to the choir. I would not disagree with that 100%.
So how do you discern? How do you rule out bad information from good information in real time. So that way you can convey to your clients or to the people that ask you for your help an accurate, message, if you will, that, like, how do you figure that out?
I put my ego on the shelf, frankly. I don't try and figure it out. Whatever comes through is what I tell them. I will never predict a death. I don't try to talk about curses or anything like that. My information is really very practical because people come to me for 4 things. Their everyday tour bus: house, car, job, kids, finances. Okay, God, you put me here. What the hell? Who was I in 1642 Belgium? I want to speak to my spirit guide, Binky, or how's dead Aunt Mabel? That's what they come to me for. And yes, people laugh when they sit with me. I mean, I've done stand-up comedy about you think a psychic's life is easy, because I don't want to come across as the Madam Hoo-Ha or Swami Swalanda who knows everything and therefore you can only trust me. That's bull. Anybody can do what I do. We're wired like the same house plan. It's a skill. Is the circuit breaker on or off? It's do you want to? I really do try to take away the scary wiki-woo part of this. Going back to Connecticut Yankee, what we find really scary wiki-woo, eventually one day they're going to find it's just a mental skill for tapping into other universes, other dimensions, whatever. But we can all do that. It's one of the reasons why when people ask me things, I remind them, even the best of us are only 85% accurate. The only one 100% accurate is God, and God is not doing phone readings or doing Zoom calls this week. I encourage them to ask me empowering questions. When they want to talk to their dead people, I'm very, very picky. I don't just go fishing. I see a woman in a flower dress handing you a rose. It's your grandmother. Oh, can I vomit now? I go for the specifics. And the way I do that is I get the dog tags so that I can get right into the energy. For instance, my father, Jerome Richard Dorkin, who died in 2001 at the age of 80, tells me nothing, gets me right into the energy. And for some reason, my guides like to play charades. What does that mean? That means all of a sudden my hand will do this. They smoked, they had surgery, it was a very fast death, whatever. 2 Canadian examples for when I was reading up in Hamilton years ago. A woman wanted to speak to her father-in-law, and I immediately felt myself messing with a pool cue. He had taught her how to play pool. Another woman wanted to speak to her grandfather, and I felt myself do this. Now, down here, we salute like this. Y'all, you salute out. She had just graduated from the Royal Canadian Man of Police Academy, and the grandfather was acknowledging. That's not It's a Rosary Ground. I don't know how I know those things. But once we get that, and they say, yes, that is Uncle Danny, whatever, then I will let them speak through me. It won't sound like them necessarily, but I won't censor. And it's why I will not do mediumship in public. And I checked with your producer and he said I could tell the story. Many years ago, there was a biracial same gender couple. The black partner had died. The white widow wanted to speak to me and see if I could get her partner. Yeah, nice Jewish kid from Cherry Hill, New Jersey. I have manners. But what immediately came out of my mouth in flawless urban ebonics was, well, shit, if it ain't my white bitch. And I'm going, oh! But the woman in front of me starts laughing and nodding because that particular phrase is how her partner, Isabel, walked into the house after every business trip. No, I cannot explain how I got that, but that is so on target. I have to trust it.
Yeah. So, yeah, go ahead.
I don't know if you can hear it. There's a howling in back. It's not a ghost. It's our old cat. So you can just ignore that.
No, I can't hear it. It's okay.
Good.
So similar experience. My wife is in tuned to this stuff as well, and I study it, and I ask questions, and I live with it. So I start to see it. There's something
man.
I can't. shut down. So for an example, another Canadian example, I did this, was asked to go to this haunted location up in Bracebridge.
Mm-hmm.
And I did some research prior to that because I wanted to test the abilities and understand this ability. Now, this is way back before I got into the ultra spectrum and all the research I'm doing now. So I was just nuts and bolts UFO guy. But I know I did the research. I know that I interviewed a lot of people and I triangulated their hot spots, if you will. And I kind of picked 3 spots where the majority of the energy could be based on the testimonies of everybody. Put it in an envelope, sealed it, brought it with me. Didn't tell my wife and my other friend who was tuning in and learning how to do this as well. Didn't tell them the location, but we went to a Tim Hortons that was like close by. So I brought them in dry and then told them to walk around and just tell me at the end of the tour where you feel the most presence, where you feel the most energy. So the other guy, he didn't get any of them. Mm-hmm. But my wife, on the other hand, got all 3 of them. And for me, it's like, you know, as far as an investigator goes, it's like, I know that I didn't share that information with her. I know that, you know, and skeptics would say my wife is in on it. That's, you know, I don't need to prove that to you. I'm just saying that's my kind of like, there might be, you know, something more to this. Mm-hmm. And a very interesting thing that she said afterwards was she mentioned this, you know, this Irish kind of type hat, red hair, overall. So she described someone that didn't come up in my research. Mm-hmm. Like, okay, or whatever. But the people in the room were able to identify that person. That was the person that was killed on the railroad track right beside the building. Something that I didn't get. But then the next day, someone had called me because I had put a request out for information about that location and told me about the guy with the overalls, red hair, and all that other stuff, and the death. So for me, knowing and being in control of the investigation, that was really convincing for me. Now, is it so easy to be trusted? This is where I have concerns, right? As an investigator, I can talk to a human being and I can tell through their body language, I can tell through their tone, their pitch, the things that they say, statement analysis, whether or not they are telling the truth, where others might believe them. Mm-hmm. How do you discern that in the afterlife or on the other side when you're doing this kind of work?
I want you to reframe the question a little bit because I'm not quite understanding what you're asking me.
How do you know that the being on the other side is being truthful to you? You are relaying the information to the client, and that is your truth because you are communicating that as it is.
I always ask the client, does this make sense?
Yeah.
Because if the client says, that doesn't make any sense, you know, my grandfather hated fishing, but he's telling you all about that. You obviously got the wrong phone line. When I do past lives, again, you know, what I'm going to do is I'm going to back a little bit. When the universe says, hi, you're working for us, and you grab the draft notice, what it does is it goes rifling inside your internal file cabinet. Yeah, I know, again, how old I am. To see what you got. What's my background? Theater major at Brown University, professional actress in New York. I understand character arcs and stories. Words are my drug of choice. I'm a writer, so I can tell the stories. And I have loved history since I was a wee thing in single digits. So I'm good with past lives. On the other hand, do not ask me to do spirit art because I cannot draw a stick figure with a sharp pencil without prayer. Okay. So what I trust most is where my own skills lie. Why are past lives important? Sometimes we can we come in with an obsession, a phobia, something we don't understand, and a back life can understand it. Woman came to me and said, I don't know what to do about my son. He's 29, won't make any decisions without me, won't live more than a mile away. What's going on? So I went into light trance and immediately got the picture and the story. I see it like a movie. I said, okay, I'm seeing 1944 Utah Beach. So this is World War II. Your son is a soldier on the beach. He's got a lot of shrapnel in his leg. He's bleeding out. You're his commanding officer. You drag him over the dune to save his life. You take a little shrapnel too, but you get out of there and you both live. And I open my eyes and she's staring at me and she says, can you see my rank? I said, yeah, you're a sergeant. She goes, he's called me Sarge since he was 3 years old and we have never known where that came from. Boom.
Yeah, keep going. Keep going.
There was a woman, she born in the Midwest, no real family connection, but was always fascinated by the Civil War. She wanted to know why. And again, like trance, immediately got the picture. I said, I'm seeing a whitewashed room, lower ceiling. So you've got two tall gentlemen, one in a military uniform, one civilian, and they're standing, but their heads are bent because they're too tall for the room. You are kneeling by a rickety iron bed. I see you in clothing. It looks like about 1862 or 3, dark gray soutache braid on your peplum and your sleeves and your hem. And there is an old black woman in the bed who is dying, and all of you are grieving because she had been gotten out of a Mississippi plantation. She was almost to the end of the Underground Railroad, but she was not going to make it. She was going to die. And I opened my eyes, and this woman in front of me is sobbing, saying, I've had that exact dream for 20 years, and I have never known what that was. Am I reading their minds? Who knows? I can't say. I'm not. I don't know if I can do that.
Yeah.
But that is the reason I can give it that precisely is because of my historical background. Now, there are other people who do past lives, and you could show us both the exact same picture, but they might say, without my background, well, it's a long skirt and a big hat. It's from something really, really fancy. So maybe it's Europe in the 19th century or something. I don't know. I could look and say, that's a hobble skirt. That's a picture hat, that kind of ostrich feather. And they're standing in front of the Brandenburg Gate. So this is Berlin in 1911 or 12, which gives them more useful information.
Mm-hmm.
Universe uses what we're good at.
Yep.
That's why I can do that. Somebody else, there are a lot of people that use pendulums and they're accurate. Why don't I? Because I have a very slight benign tremor in one hand and I can't trust it. So you see, I am not what I call glurpy purple with angels. It's happening. I trust it. I ask myself, can this be trusted? Does this make sense? Is there another explanation for it? But when there isn't, I shrug and I say, okay, that's what I call the direct download.
Perfect. Okay, so we're going to pause right here, but we will continue after a message from our professional partners. If you're listening to the audio only replay, head over to youtube.com/the Experiential Support Association to see the video that goes with this audio. This includes the after chat where I share some Tessa updates and talk about current investigations I'm working on. So today I think we're going to talk about Experience Your Day because we got a cast and call out for that. Yeah, we'll see where else that goes. Declassified some documents lately as well. So remember, you are listening to Beyond the Tinfoil Hat, a podcast by the Experiential Support Association, and we'll be right back.
Have you ever wondered, or maybe just thought to yourself, if there were others just like you? You know, people with extraordinary abilities, psychogenic advancement, and perhaps unique intuitions. Maybe you just wondered if there were other people who experienced unimaginable, unexplained, or even unusual and paranormal events. Are there people who have more questions, more fears than answers? Well, you're not alone. You've never been alone. We believe you. Sign up for EA today.
It's your business. It's your property. Your assets are worth protecting. Blacklight Investigative and Surveillance Services specializes in patrolling and inspecting residential or commercial property against fire, theft, vandalism, terrorism, and illegal activity. People and buildings are monitored to prevent crime. Keep your property, your people, and your assets safe from threat. Our elite staff are dual licensed private investigators and security guards. Blacklight Investigative and Surveillance Services. Go to blacklightiss.com.
Welcome back. You are listening to Beyond the Tinfoil Hat. Have you ever experienced an unexplained event involving the paranormal, UFOs, extraterrestrial, dogman, or any other paracryptid? Excuse me. Head over to experiencesupport.org and click the purple button on the top right corner and click Submit a Report. The more reports we get, the more we will understand this phenomenon and how it affects our people. Let the others who have already reported be that example that proves we are making a difference. If it wasn't for these reports, we would not be able to do what we do. And for that, we thank you. All right. How you doing? First half's done. Last round, best round, as they say.
Coolness.
Okay, so you were touching on this, and I was kind of hoping you didn't get into it before the break because I knew the break was coming up, but I was kind of leading into that. Like, we are aware that even with talking to humans, there are so many things that can be misinterpreted. So misinterpreting the dead, is an expert level of communication, like to trying to figure this out. And we have to discern that. And as the host, or the client receiving this information, much like a horoscope, we need to be cautious of what we tell ourselves when we get these readings, because it's just information, and what we do with it is up to the individual person.
Mm-hmm.
And
you don't want to be cosmic muffins, is what I mean.
Yeah, I like that. So what is your take, or reasoning, if you will, on those who have the same or similar or even better abilities, if you will.
Oh, yeah, I am not the best person in the world. Hell no.
But intentionally manipulating people. How does that?
I warn people about that. That is, if I may, why I wrote this. The Psychic Elderbook Road, How to Find the Real Wizards and Avoid the Flying Monkeys. Look, there is no better business bureau for psychics. There's not. So if you're going to see one of us, you have to do your research first.
Yeah.
You know, people ask me, well, I'm going to this big site. I mean, the reason I used to come to Canada, there was a fabulous pair of promoters, Stan Mallow and Ray Fauché. Stan still does the Paranormal Gacker podcast, but they ran the First Star Psychic Fairs, and I loved them because both Stan and Ray had been on our side of the table, and they ran an absolutely clear and professional show. But people used to say, well, I'm going and I've never gone before. How do I know who I should go to? And I laugh. I say, well, you all have to be good puppies. First thing is, when you walk in, you have to do your walkies. And what does that mean? That means you just walk around and you get to see who's there. And then what you do is you have to get paper trained. We all have rack cards or information, and you collect from anybody that you feel like might be good. And you're going to have 3 or 4 people that feel all right. Then the key, you have to go and look at the booth. Talk to us if we're not busy. But remember, I can tell you I'm wonderful, and that doesn't count. And we hire front people to say they love us. My first front person was the wonderful Laura Spickerman, who was my husband's office manager Monday through Friday. Do you think that she's going to diss Mrs. Museum Director on the weekend? No, she's not. So you look at our testimonial books. These are books we all have that comments are written by people that have had sessions with us. Are we good? Are we funny? Are we accurate? Do we have specialties, children, dogs, dead people? Would they come back? But I tell people, you got to check in here. You're putting your heart and loonies on the table. If the psychic doesn't feel like they have a brain in their head, they really give a damn about what they're doing, or they're going to give you good information, don't go there, no matter how cool the wiki looks on the table. And if nobody rings your chimes, leave without a reading. There will be somebody else some other time, I promise. So I show people how to stay safe. What questions are useful? When I even have a chapter in this book called When Not to Get a Reading, because sometimes you're not going to get what you want, and we are not useful. And this is the chapter that any other psychic who reads the book laughs and says, God, I wish I had this before I started. And it is the typical, does Bruce love me question. And we sometimes get these people that go, does Bruce love me? No. Is he gonna love me? Not the way you want. Well, if I do such and such, is he gonna love me? No. Well, is he gonna call? No. Well, if he's not gonna call soon, is he gonna call later? And they keep hitting on you. Hopefully you will be worn down so you finally go, yes, yes, they want 7 babies with you, but they just don't know yet. Oh, good. I thought so. Don't do this. There's nothing we can do about clients like that except refuse to read them. And I've done that. There was a woman who sat with me and said, I want to know where my husband is sleeping with his mistress. I said, I'm sorry, I don't do remote spying. Oh, well, how many has he slept with? Ma'am, I'm sorry, I don't do remote spying. God, you're not useful. Well, all right. Is he sick? Is he going to die soon and leave me his money? I turned to Laura and I said, Laura, I'm not connecting with Mrs. Cooperson. Would you please give her money back? And she went. Huh? As in every single field, there are some of us that are ethical and some aren't. It's one of the reasons that I became a certified professional tarot reader, because we have a code of ethics. And it's on the table, and you can see I'm not going to try to convince you. And the reason I wrote that book, 250-person show in Toronto. Now, this was not run by Stan and Ray, and there was no way that the promoters could vet everybody at a show that size. So there was this woman, she was walking down the aisle, and on the other side was a fake gypsy. And she comes out from behind her booth and grabs the woman by the arm. Parlance, this is called hooking, and it's as bad as the other kind of hooking. And she goes, oh, you no need to pay $30, $40, $50. I need your pump for 10. Come, drags the woman behind the screen.
Yeah.
20 minutes later, we see this client leaving crying hysterically. And we all remember, are you okay? And of course, the gypsy had said, oh, you have a family curse. How many in your family? 4, you have dog. $50 every family member, 25 for dog. He small, we fix. And told the woman if she didn't burn 400 specially blessed candles at the Roman Catholic Church, I bless real good, only $1 candle. Her entire family was going to die in a car accident in 2 weeks, and the woman bought it.
Hmm.
Can you see the smoke coming out of my ears?
Yeah.
That's why I wrote that. And I don't care if you never come to me after reading it. That's not the reason I wrote it. If it means you can find a good intuitive counselor and get useful information, all boats rise. I did my job. I kept you safe.
Mm-hmm.
So this is why I am a professional, because I help rookies to learn how to do this right. I welcome, there are 8 billion people in the world. I can't read them all. There's a room for you. And I teach my clients or potential clients how to stay safe. Look at Ouija boards. Okay. I do a lecture.
They're good for making tomato sandwiches on.
I tell people, all right.
I've done it.
Ouija boards. No, well, you will like how I talk about it then. Ouija boards, when you don't know how to ground center a shield, is like opening your door to a strange neighborhood and yelling free beer. You don't know who's out there, but they heard you and they're coming. And yes, there have been Seth and Abraham and all those people who came through a Ouija board. But I have had to handle 2 gibbering teenagers who, when they just put their hands on the planchette, no grounding, no nothing, said who's there. What was spelled very fast backwards was, I have an accident, I'm here to kill you. Trust me, it's not their Uncle Danny. And when people, and somebody will say, but it's just a toy, I go, fine. Who here has a kid or a grandchild under 10? And hands go up. I go, you. What's the kid's name? Joshy. How old is Joshy? Joshy's 8. Okay, fine. Joshy comes to you and says, Grandma, I just got all A's on my report card. You said I could go pick out a new toy. Let's go. And he drags you into the toy department to a box that says, my first chainsaw. It's in the toy department. Gonna let him play with him by himself? I don't think so. There are some things that have such negative resonance that you don't want to mess with them. You just don't.
Mm-hmm.
So again, it's a matter of keeping people safe with me, not taking advantage of them.
Yeah. And like, I like what you said, and I agree, like in any industry and anything we do in life, there are good people and there are bad people. And
Mm-hmm.
sometimes the good people become bad people, and sometimes the bad people become good people. And, and we have to kind of, it's, the thought came in, I never thought this way before.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of want to explore it a little bit, but where my mind went is, getting a reading almost could be like an addiction too. Or because I was just thinking gambling, lottery tickets is,
yep.
And people, what are, just to compare that, like that's something tangible or something they can physically get is money to solve a problem. And they really
yep.
want to play the cards or play the, scratch tickets or do all these other things that they need to do to win money to solve a problem. So
right.
The idea is there, it's within reach. It seems reasonable. But then in the psychic side of things, if they really want to know that their husband is cheating on them and all these other things, call me. I can help you. But
that goes right into the idea of how often should you get a reading.
Yeah, but they really know in their heart of hearts, or they don't want it to be true, and they just want to know. They want someone to tell them because they're hurting. It's trauma bonding, right? And if you're able to identify that and you're able to help give them something peace of mind without robbing them blind, then this can be used as a tool.
Yes.
It's very helpful, but also like, sugar's good for you once in a while, but it's also dangerous. Caffeine too,
Yep. Let me give an example. All right. For instance, if you come to me for a career reading, I used to be an executive recruiter. They're my very favorite things. And if you said to me, for instance, is my new business going to be successful? I'd go, wrong question. What you want to know is, how do I make my business rock? And then I have a multiple card spread. Card for you, a card for the energy around the business, the brick and mortar location, how to market it. Clients, competition, staff, finances, what you need to know, and best possible outcome. Right. Giving you tools. If you come back to me in a month and say, did everything we talked about, things have really moved forward, blah, 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 can we take a look again? I'll read you. But if you come to me even just once a year, and it's always the same questions, and I know it's always the same questions, and I give you the same answers, after 3 years, I'm like a good bartender. I'm cutting you off. You're wasting your money and my time. Mm-hmm. So.
Yeah, so I've had a PI client that wanted to know if his spouse was cheating on him. And I always try to talk him out of that. If you have the suspicion, save your money. Just get a divorce or just leave. Just do it. You don't want to know. Do you really want to know? I want to pay. Okay. So then, all right. Then I get the evidence. And it turns out to be true. But I have this ethical issue here of trying to figure out what my client's going to do once I give him this information. On one hand, he's paid me to do a service. On the other hand, I have what he wants and he is accurate. But I'm responsible if he goes and murders them in their sleep. If you know what I'm saying? So
that's why you have a great big legal disclaimer, just like we have.
So I have to discern that. And the way I communicate things like that, it's like, okay, so here's the information. It's in and around this area. I'm not going to give you specifics and things like that and blah, blah, blah. Police have been notified of the situation. Don't do anything stupid. Mm-hmm. And this guy then started to compare himself to this guy, change the way that he was, change what he did. He didn't care that she was sleeping with him. He wanted to be like him, so she would sleep with him. And I'm not a relationship therapist by any means, but I don't think that's healthy. But
that's their free will, Ryan. You are not responsible for what he does with the information.
Is even though I'm just comparing a real life, scenario with saying this doesn't exist. It's harder to prove, but the situation is the same. No matter what you tell the person, if they want to believe something, they are going to believe it, even if the evidence is contradictory.
I know. Look, it's one of the reasons why there's a big fat legal disclaimer at my desk. And when I record sessions for clients, because y'all can see I'm from New York and talk fast, I do say, today is date. This is Corbie Mitleid. I'm doing a reading for John Smith. John, I must remind you, per New York, and if he lives in California law, this is for entertainment only, right? And I get their agreement on the tape, on the recording, because none of us are so accurate that you have to take our information flawlessly. You've got to use your brain.
Oh yeah, and you need to keep documentation to cover your ass too, because some psychic told me to know that if I murdered this person, I'd be free. Well, no, the psychic told me that. Blah, 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 right? So they get into all that.
That's exactly right.
If you give me, I come to you and I ask you these questions and something comes through and that, say it's like an illness or something severe, however that comes in, and you're certain enough that you're going to tell me that. Imagine that. Can I do anything about it? Can I change fate?
I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't do that. I'll tell you why.
Okay.
I'm not a doctor. The closest I ever got to anything like that was when a guy sat with me and said, just do a health check. And the only thing is I felt a little something odd in the chest. And I said, see a little gray area there. Wouldn't hurt for you to go to your doctor, get an x-ray, do whatever. See, I didn't try to diagnose. I didn't say you're going to die. But 5 years later, his wife shows up and says, I really have to thank you. We did what you told us, and we found out what you saw is it was the beginning of ALS. But because we caught it so very early, we had 4 good years before he died. Now, did I do that? No. That was whatever upstairs energy is working with them. I was just the megaphone. Here, tell them this. My understanding, notice I'm saying my understanding, is we have 4 or 5 different exit points that we determined before we get down here. You could die of a fever at 4, a car accident at 18, falling out of a window at 35, a mugging at 50, or prostate cancer at 92. As you come up to those places, the soul decides, did we get everything done or not? With me, in 2002, there was black ice under snow in upstate New York. I overcorrected. Car skidded. I took down a small tree, a telephone pole, flipped the car. There were electrical wires all over it, and I wasn't wearing a seatbelt. At no time was I afraid of dying. For some reason, it felt like an e-ticket on Disney. I walked out. I had a couple of bruises here. The entire car was crushed except for my little pocket. So obviously upstairs said, you're just getting into doing the psychic work we need you to do. We're keeping you around. But if someone had said to me, oh, I see you dying in a car accident, I would have died of fright. Don't set it up that way. There was a man who had just had cancer surgery on his jaw at a show in Syracuse 20 years ago. And the psychic looked at him and said, 7 months, that's all you got. Well, that psychic was booted from the show, and several of us had to do damage control for that guy. You put that thought into the brain and you're setting it up. You don't predict a death. You don't give them that kind of crap. It's why I say, here are your challenges, here's how to get through it or around it. I mean, I've done the cancer dance 3 times. Notice, I don't say what I fought it, because what you fight fights back. And I'm not a survivor because I do a lot more than hang on by teeth and toenails. I'm a cancer dancer. I found out how graceful I could be under pressure. I avoided getting my toes stepped on, and I got off the dance floor in one piece. 3 times, breast cancer in 04, double mastectomy, ovaries out, and here I am at 68, still fine. So my job is to give you tools to get through the crap, not promise you you're going to. At the same time, I warn people about what I call drive-by psychic shootings. You all know the Long Island medium up there? Okay. I mean, people think that's real. Somebody is filling up the cantaloupes and Wegmans, and she walks up and says, excuse me, you ran to her. She says you have a bald tire in the back, and if you don't get it fixed in a week, you're going to die in an accident. Just telling you, walks away. No. Her PR team goes out and looks at all the Wegmans on Long Island, picks one. They interview a lot of people and have them sign legal model releases, and then they rehearse it 6 times. But some psychics see that and think that gives them the right to walk up to perfect strangers and give them information they didn't ask for. I tell people the minute someone tries to do that, you put up your hand and say, I don't want the information. And if they keep pushing, you get the manager and you have them sent out for harassment. It's how you stay safe. And, you know, it even happens in our field. Look, when I did the shows in Kitchener for 4 days, I read 70 people in 4 days and did 2 lectures. They were long days. And by the end of the day, I would have a headache. Invariably, there was what I would call a little blurpy purple with angels rookie who would come up to me. Let's call her little dancing raccoon and go, I know Reiki, I'll fix that. And she comes at me like this. I say, no, thank you. No, really, I can't. I'd prefer you didn't. But just back off. You're not very love and light, are you? Well, you didn't listen. You've got to have boundaries, both as someone who is in the field and you as a client. You have a right to tell me, I don't want to hear about health. I'm only interested about career. And that's where I go. Nobody should force information on you. That is incorrect use of the skill. That is harassment. And you can put a stop to it. You have a right to put a stop to it. Because when you do, you will be protected from people who say, oh, I'm seeing a hole in your aura. I have this candle. Okay? You should only get psychic information when you deliberately ask for it. No professional intuitive would just come up and
So,
go inside your head like that.
what
Sorry,
do you? I know you didn't name the Long Island medium, but I'm glad you mentioned the sex because I knew which one you were talking about.
Mm.
So, but I'll name this one. What do you have any opinions on Matt Frazier?
Don't know him at all.
You don't know who he is?
Nope. I don't watch
Yeah.
psychic shows. I mean, look, I got offered a reality show
Mm-hmm.
about 5 years ago, but they were saying, and we'll tell everybody that nobody can do what you do. I said, wait, that's a lie. My whole business is I tell people you can learn to do what I do. And they shrugged and they went off and, Hollywood psychic or whatever. So no, I deliberately do not watch other famous psychics because I'm not comparing myself to them. I work the way I work and I don't need to be that famous.
Mm-hmm. So I kind of studied him quite a bit. We did some Zoom calls. And he did a group reading on Zoom and things like that, which was kind of interesting and seeing the reactions and stuff. But that eventually led us to trying to see him in person. And then we ended up seeing him in person last April at Casino Rama, so in Aurelia, in Ontario. And I've never seen a psychic show. And this was one person that I seemed to be like, okay, you know what? This guy might... I like his style. I like how he conveys his point. It's not too preachy. It's not too much. I mean, he could be onto something. So, because all the other ones annoyed me, like you, and that's you can just tell it's bullshit. But it's like, you know what, this guy, might be, this is a way to study this. Mm-hmm. And then seeing him in a live show, I discovered that he's a mentalist, and how I came to that conclusion was in the Zoom call. I couldn't really see what he was doing, but I could see what he was doing in the audience. So he would get the entire row to stand up, and then he would just throw out random things until someone within that row or close by acknowledged it. And then he would then say other things until he found, the person, right? And I was looking at how that could be possible. Well, when you purchase your ticket, the name is given. And then you do some research and whatever's out online. And then the psychic just knows which row, but doesn't know which person is sitting where. So it has to get them all to stand up until that person, identifies themselves. And then bam. So that is also illegal. It's misguiding. It's now that doesn't mean he's not genuine. I don't want to poop on all the psychics in the world here, but I'm just saying that particular tactic is clever, but it's manipulative.
And remember the old military saying, tactic perceived is no tactic. Yes. Now that you know.
Right, exactly. Okay. What time is it? We got a few minutes here.
Yeah, keep going, babe.
We talked a lot about what questions you don't like.
Which ones don't work
or don't work? What questions, would you expect or want to have in order to give a proper reading to the best of your, your ability or design?
Okay. Always ask the empowering question. Don't ask me for the lottery numbers. Number one, me first. Number two, if your psychic is not at least driving a Lexus, how do you know they know? As I say, I love career questions because I have absolutely no compunctions about using both halves of my brain for you. If you're asking me about a business, well, I used to be an executive recruiter and I placed people in six-figure jobs. Why can't I give you that information along with the cards to help you? Okay, it's why there's a particular company in California, they're IT. They've been my business client for 10 years. They'll very often ask me about people they're considering hiring, blah, blah, blah. For 10 years, I've been on target. Okay, obviously, or they wouldn't come back. Yeah. But because I understand business, I would know whether these people would really work for them or not. There's nothing wrong with that. That's not cheating. The typical question, does Bruce love me? Let's look at that. I will choose a card for the person in front of me, Bruce, the relationship, what they need to know, and best possible outcome. That's just what I see. If they say, I still don't know what to do, I do what I call my 3 3s. 3 cards for status quo. This is if you just do nothing and bumble along. 3 cards for the come to Jesus meeting. You do serious counseling and you work on the relationship. 3 cards for hostile bye-bye. It's been nice, but I'm out of here. Now, this is where free will comes in. My psychic sense may see the Beetlejuice sign on leaving. But if the client says, I guess I'll just stick it out, I have to zip it because that's their free will. The only time that I change that is if they tell me that they're gaslit or battered or scared. Then the reader's turban comes off, my reverend collar goes on, and I counsel them on how to leave to a battered women's shelter. So, that's one of the reasons I'm a Rev. Number one, it makes it much safer for me to read in certain parts of the United States where they say, you're doing the devil's work. No, I'm a Reverend in spiritual counseling. Oh, Reverend, we're so sorry. So that's fine. But that is the thing. We're not here to take over your free will. And the really good intuitives know we can tell you things, but then it's up to you to decide. Another Kitchener story. There was a client I saw a couple of challenging things for, and I told her. She looks at me and she says, you suck. And she gets up and walks away. All right, live and be well. Next time I come back to Kitchener, she's the first person in my seat. She said, last time I said you sucked. I said, yes, I remember. Because you told me that you saw me taking in a boarder and then I'd probably want to sell my house. And I thought that was all bull. But my daughter got pregnant and moved home. And now I'm going to sell my house to help raise my grandson. And I still don't like you, but I want to know what else you see. Don't shoot the messenger. You're the one who decided what to do.
Yeah. But then I
didn't tell her she was cursed if she didn't.
Yeah. There's still that trick too where a thought was implanted. But it's that fine line between being accurate and coincidental. And so words, we gotta be careful with what we say, but but that's still, it's still a positive thing,
and it's free will.
Yeah.
It is free. She could have told her daughter that she couldn't move in. Yeah. She could have not sold her house. She made that decision. Yeah. Not that she had to.
Right. And then it became a reality. But because she has this preemptive belief of this being a thing before coming to you, and then now seeing parts of it being reality, there's, whether she hates you or not, she trusted you in a sense because she sold the house.
Maybe, or because when she got up and said, you suck.
Yeah.
That kind of person is someone who's going to prove me wrong.
Like when you pick on someone in high school, but you really have a crush on them, like we don't really communicate, very well.
So
when we're hurt or confused or afraid.
But again, that's why.
Crimes of passion.
She had agreed it was for entertainment only. She saw the disclaimer on my desk. So she cannot say, Corbie made me do X. She just can't. Yeah. Now, we have to protect ourselves. This is true. It's one of the reasons I always have a sign-in sheet. And you, as the client, sign, write it down unless you cannot write, in which case I do it for you. It's simple. Your name, your birth date, because I do some numerology calculations, email. Is this your first time with me? Yes or no? Yeah. Nothing huge. But in London, Ontario, one year, I read for a 20-year-old man who really did not like what I told him. And the next day, we found an anonymous death threat on my desk. But because it was handwriting, we were able to match it up with my sign-in sheet, handed it over to the OPP, and they took care of it. This is not everybody is love and light and kumbaya. So, yes, we have to be careful about what we say. And there's that fine line between, what I told him was that, no, his girl wasn't going to come back to him. Okay. That's not awful information. That's not you're going to die. That's not your car is going to get bombed. It's no, I don't see her coming back to you. But he was so enraged by that, he was willing to threaten me with death. So the danger is on both sides.
I live a life as a PI, so process serving, Chris, delivering bed, we got you. But that's why we live I have a fortress over here. They'll come knocking.
And it's one of the reasons that I read under my Elton John name and people only have my cell phone. In the very beginning, I did read under my legal name and used our landline. And I would get calls at 3 in.the morning from drunks. Hey, the bitch left. Is she coming back, or can I screw the girl down the street? She is hot. No. Click. But we couldn't take the phone off the hook because since my husband was a museum director, we had to be able to be contacted if the police said there's a break-in. So.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So we got 5 minutes left. I got your website up here. I do have your YouTube.
That's my writing website. The website for me, that's the one, CorbieMitleid.com. And yes, the YouTube. This will be up on my YouTube channel when you're done. Thank you very much.
Perfect. Well, thank you.
Yeah, no, I'm all over the internet. You can't not find me.
Yeah, so we're gonna put the link in the comments here for those who are watching this and on the replay, and when we redistribute this on our podcast network. So walk us through what are people going to find here? So this is your writing one?
I write there, but there are also on my website, there are 150 different articles. There's where I'm going to be. There are 24 different kinds of readings. I encourage you to spend as little money with me as possible, not as much, because you can see I'm fast. And this month I'm going to be starting my own, I'm just going to call it a pod bite, called the Psychic Yellow Brick Road, because 10 to 15 minutes, just audio, my giving you some information like I've given you today, my thoughts about the world like junk food for the soul. Look, I love being able to contact people that don't know me. And that's one of the best ways to do it. Yes, this is the Psychic Yellow Brick Road. That's the book. I don't care if you never come to me. If that book keeps you safe with any other intuitive, I did my job, and thank you very much.
Okay, I just put the link in the comments too, so if anybody wants to buy that. And okay, well, how can people on the YouTube channel? So this is where you have fun here.
Yes, lots of stuff there. There are videos, there are guided meditations. There's all kinds of stuff. So go play.
Perfect. And then you mentioned Patreon as well. What's
Patreon?
Behind?
It's where if you want to work with me, learn. It's right now. It's a small group. It's only about 15, and that's fine. As you can see, it's not wildly expensive because we work on all kinds of things about psychic skills. And if I don't know something, I'm going to bring in good people I know. Astrology, crystal jewelry, vibrational essences, medical qigong, whatever it is. If you want to learn about it, I'll find the people to teach, not just me. Because like I say, it's important to put the knowledge out there and keep the rookies safe. So I do that way.
Sweet. Okay. Well, final thoughts? Anything you want to say to
number one, this has been a great deal of fun. You've asked questions I don't usually get asked. Thank you very, very much. When you've done as many of these as I have, it's great.
Start because this morning just got ahead of me this morning, but I apologize.
That's fine. No, remember, you can go through life without ever having a psychic reading. You really, really can. We are luxuries. We're not necessities. But if you decide to have one, please do your research, check the references, talk to some of their clients if you can. get information on how trustworthy they are before you sit down with them. Keep yourself safe.
All right. Okay. Well, thank you, Corbie.
My pleasure.
And I appreciate your time, and we'll be in touch. We are looking for writers too. If you're interested in reproducing some of your stuff or writing some original content too, we can always publish it for you. So if you're interested in that, and then we'll redistribute the podcast on our audio only and reels and stuff like that too. So you're going to get more out of that as well. And
Thank you.
All right, everybody's time. So unless you are interested in hearing some of the latest updates from the Experiential Sport Association, or if you want to pick my brain a bit, there's some questions in there of some of my ongoing investigations. I got till 11 o'clock. So if you stick around for the after chat, we'll do that. And if you're listening to the audio only replay, the show ends here. And you will need to head over to www.youtube.com/the Experiential Sport Association. If you want to follow my work, I'm on Facebook and Twitter, more Facebook than Twitter, as I don't buy into the, it feels better on Facebook. But thank you for watching. Keep your eyes in the sky, heed the world. And here's a question. Would you rather know when you died or how you died? Heed the world.
That's it, everybody. That is a wrap. That is the end of it all. Thank you for joining me tonight. I look forward to seeing you back next week, where we'll continue to have this conversation deep down into the rabbit hole in which we call the ultra spectrum. Thanks for joining us. I said that already. Oh well, fuck it. Heed the world.
Hello. Happy Thursday, October 5th. I think I said 3rd earlier. I don't know. Did I, Chris? Yeah. I don't know why I'm realizing that now. Bring yourself in anytime, Chris. But anyway, so it's been a while. Yeah, full disclosure, I have a child now, and she's just started school, and there's things that I'm getting adjusted to. So I'm happy to be back in the podcast. I'm happy to have the assistance of Chris too, because he set this all up and he's here running the show. So it's good that we were able to figure it out. Chris, as a mental note, maybe we should double check the podcasts that are coming, see if they start at 9:30. We'll make a change to make sure we always start at 9:30. So I have time to do my script. The other thing too is yeah, go ahead.
They do. They start at 9:30.
Okay, so we'll make the change before other people sign up.
Correct.
The other thing, too, full disclosure, I'm supposed to be wearing glasses. My eyes are getting old, and I have a hard time reading some of these words. So you might see me with some les lunettes. soon with some glasses. You just might. I don't know. We'll see. All right, so let's get to the chat. Chris, you just cue the music when it's time for me to shut up and get to work, because 11 o'clock, right? Or sooner, depending on how the conversation goes. So shout out to Werder Bremen. Good to see you. Greetings from Germany. If you're still here, I hope you're still here. We were talking about Germany a little bit there, so I hope we were politically correct, or accurate at least, based on our knowledge. But we don't live where you live, so I'd be appreciative if you chimed in on our thoughts on that. Starvo. Hi, Ryan. Thanks for doing this. Well, you are welcome. Thank you, Chris, for assisting me. Thank you, everybody, for being here. Thank you, the guests who show up that actually want to have this conversation. Awesome. Lockbeard, haven't seen you in a while. Yeah, we did change the time because I've been working and I couldn't commit to the Thursday night schedule as I used to. The pandemic had ended. We had to do some organizational changes and shifts and stuff, and it's only recently that we've just got the ship above water. So we're working, getting the dust off, if you will. So what else do we got here? Lisa, hello, Lisa, and it's your birthday. Happy birthday, Lisa. Awesome. 57 years young. Positive thinking. Good job. All right. Did you burn those spiders yet? I saw your social post there of your garden spiders. You can send them straight to hell. She also says, I have psychic abilities and I've seen things I wish I didn't, and some things I have seen are wonderful. I don't mention it too much besides to family and friends, but it's real. Yeah, the phenomenon is real. What is it? Is it psychic? Are we still calling it? Are we using the right terms? But we have the ability to use our minds to travel to other places that aren't physical and extract information. The issue is trying to interpret that information without judgment, without assumption, because it may be terrifying to you in some respects, but it might not be terrifying to other people. Give you an example. On the weekend, my family and I went and saw Paw Patrol, where other family wanted to go and see Saw 10. There's choices, and different feelings and different vibes, right? Anyways, Lockbeard, are there any other paranormal live streams on this channel that are regularly scheduled day and time? Regularly scheduled day and time? No. We are trying to get other people to do some work, but they don't want to. And it's a volunteer organization as well, so it's whether or not they can commit to it. We do have a place for those who want a space to host. All you got to do is create the content. We'll publish it. We'll market it. We'll distribute it. We'll do all that work. Just give us the idea and let us know, let's work out a deal. What do you want, right? It is a volunteer organization. We may not have the funds to pay directly for time, but we can trade, marketing and all these other things. There's a lot of things that we can barter with. So thanks for asking. And Lisa, Ouija boards are not dangerous. It's the person. I never had issues with them. What is dangerous is channeling. I hear people are getting hurt from them more than anything else. Okay, so Ouija board is a tool, and it's you're right. I believe that as well. It's the intention. The board is like, I don't know, like the steering wheel of a car. You can still drive a car without the steering wheel if if it was one of those fancy AI self-driving cars, right? So if you consider the mind like an AI, like a system, a robot, not really a robot, but like it has its own, stuff going on in there and own intentions. Do you actually need the Ouija board to get your mind to actually do the psychic work, right? It's like someone with ADHD, they use a fidget spinner to calm their mind down, right? They could calm their mind down through meditation, other methods, and things like that. So I think that the Ouija board is just a way of channeling the part of the brain to tap into that space. And if you can do it without a Ouija board, that's expert level. No joke. Like, I did make a tomato sandwich on a Ouija board back in the day. I wish I had that video because I'd show you. And this is when I was trying to figure out this YouTube thing and get comfortable on the internet and all this other stuff. And I was explaining something to do with investigations while I was making a tomato sandwich on the backside of the Ouija board. And at the end of my video, I was just saying, yeah, so, you got to be careful with what you do and all these other things because you never know. And unless you test something, something along those lines, you're not going to really know. And that's when I revealed the Ouija board that was in frame the whole time, that I made a sandwich on. Looking back, life kind of got a little hard after that. But, I don't know if that's a coincidence. But, some people really believe in the Ouija board, but I agree with you, Lisa. I think it's the intention of the mind, it's it's the beast within, all those things, right? Lockbeard quotes me. Yeah, you can tell it's bullshit. Oh yeah. You can just tell, but do you need to prove it? To what extent, right? Like, just you have that feeling. You walk into a room, you can tell. You get feelings in general. I saw your comment here too. Volume is high enough on the outro, the outro. I think you meant outro. It's a little too low throughout the entire show. So we are using software that is supposed to automatically adjust the volume of the microphone based on the levels. So thanks for letting me know. We'll look into that. The videos are pre-recorded too, so I guess we can drop the volume down. I don't know. We'll figure it out, but thanks for letting me know. Lisa says, to be honest, I don't think of when I'm going to die or how. I just keep on living my life. Well, yeah, that's what we hope. But if the mind wanders sometimes, I wouldn't want to know either. I'm living my life right now. I keep thinking I'm going to, today could be my last, so live every day, There's that as well. Okay, then we get to the bottom. Werder says, enjoyable conversation. Good to see you. Cheers. Still here from Germany. What time is it in Germany right now? Lockbeard, you had said, LOL, I feed my garden spider sometimes. If only one is in the way, I just move her. Yeah, I can't get past these spiders, man. I can't. Just burn them. Just burn them all to hell. Burn them. No, it didn't burn the spiders. Of course you wouldn't, because you like spiders. I don't know, like spiders, I'm okay with spiders. Sometimes. Like, you be over there, I'll be over here. I don't need to, kill it. I don't need to, do anything with it. We just kind of draw a line. But I need to keep an eye on it. As soon as it's gone, I'm like, oh, fuck. Where is it? Where is it? And then it freaks me out because it moves so fast. Just moves so fast and process. Because some of these spiders are deadly. I don't know enough about spiders. It's just it concerns me when it's not there. Right? It's kind of maybe the risk analysis stuff. Like, where's your perpetrator? He's not there. Oh no, he's got a gun. Those kind of panics. Just imagine a spider with a gun. That's why you burn them. Anyways, okay, so that's the bottom. So if anybody doesn't have any questions, then let's get out of here. They eat the pests. Yeah, what? I guess. You ever seen 8-Legged Freaks? Giant spiders. What about arachnophobia? That movie. And the condition, Werder says 1744. Right on. Or 5:44 p.m. here. Perfect. Oh, I know 1744. Don't worry, sir. I know our military time. So does, Chris, All right, so that's it. Let me talk about experience your day, I guess. And if I find out how and when I die. Well, see, if I find out that's a good question. Lockbeard says, if I find out how and when I die, can I change it? I would think that I could, and I would try that I could if it was something that is preventable. You know, you're going to get in a car accident one day. How specific is that? You know, I can just not drive cars. I'll drive trucks. Right? I had to show Chris the difference between a car and a truck the other day. FYI. Just saying that because he's there. Remember, Chris, you can come in anytime. You can slam me if you need to. It's free game, free reign. Shit. You know, can you just avoid trucks? Can you just, cars and SUVs? You know, or do you avoid all automobiles in general? And, well, is a car accident technically a car accident if the car hits you while you're walking as a pedestrian? Because then you have to avoid the road, right? So could you change it? You know, it would maybe, but you would have to live a really, very protective life in a bubble. But now if the reading was specific, you were going to die in a Tesla on a such and such day, then I think that's a clue. I'm not hopping in any Teslas in during a certain time period or ever, but that's also a reach, right? How could the psychic be so specific when we just learned through Corbie here that it's better to have a vague reading than a specific one because there's more truth to that. The more specific examples came with, you're going to die unless you buy this mineral water that I have that's been blessed by, the holy Pope of whatever, and for 5 easy payments of $1,099. Like if there's a sales pitch on top of that, right? ED, I'm looking forward to it. Experience your day. Yes, we'll get to that. My mind went elsewhere there. So let's get into experience your day. So experience your day. Let me share my screen again. And then we're good. Still got Corbie up there. So we'll just close all these up. And if you go to our website, Experiencer Day, this is probably going to play a video. I don't know if you'll hear it. I'll try and catch it. There we go. So this will explain what Experience Your Day is. So I'm going to put it in the comments right now so you guys will look at it later. So E-Day is an annual online event to honor all experiencers who have entrusted us with investigating their personal, unexplained, and unusual circumstances. If it weren't for them, we would not be able to do what we're doing. For that, we thank you. So we played the video throughout the show. E-Day occurs every year on December 9th, and the sum of this date is 12 plus 9, which equals 3. Numerology suggests that the number 3 is the number of spirituality, creativity, and self-expression. It is a perfect day for a live virtual event. E-Day is precisely 12 days from the winter solstice on December 21st, which is also the birth date of Tessa. All right, so that's when Tessa was created. When I had my little whatever episode of vision or whatever you want to call it of that Tessa symbol. So that would mark, I guess, year 3, I think. No, the podcast is 5 years old. So I guess we're going to year 6. Wow. How to participate. So essentially what I got is a call to action out there for anyone who wants to participate in this. So last year, if you guys did see it, we had some speakers. We had Sylvain, we had Mike Doherty, we had myself, Cece, Michelle, DeRoche, Randy Kramer, Alex Mistretta, Priscilla Stone, and Terry Sidju. And then we did a round table. So we're getting prepared for the third one. So we put out a casting call for anybody who wants to participate in that. I haven't checked the emails. I don't know if anyone has responded, but Chris says no. So, okay. So we want to hopefully get some people interested in doing it. And if no one is interested in doing an online virtual event on a Saturday, then we can just acknowledge E-Day in a certain way. Well, it's still E-Day, but we'll do something different, right? Or just recognize it as a day, and we'll figure it out. All right. So if anybody is interested in being a participant of this day in some shape or form, reach out to us, let us know, and we'll go from there. All right. Lockbeer says, or if the death incident is seen by a psychic in the past, then it has already happened and cannot happen. Or do I watch too much Star Trek? Oh, geez. No, never enough Star Trek. Okay, hold on. If the death, I feel like this is a riddle. If the death incident is seen by the psychic in the past, then it has already happened and cannot happen. So that's a question. So let's assume a psychic in the past, seen by a psychic, in the past, and has already happened. You want to reframe your question? Because you got me very confused. The death incident is seen by a psychic in the past, then it has already happened. So are you suggesting that it's fate, like it's meant to happen? Like if they've seen it in the past, it's already happened, but that would be pointless. They're already dead. That's like you're getting information, right? Did he elaborate on that? No. And cannot be changed. I was missing that. All right, so here's what I'm thinking. So if in the past, if this is seen by a psychic in the past, then it's already happened. Yeah, sorry, dude, you got me right fucked. I'm lost on that. I can't understand. I do not understand your question. I was trying. So you got some time to sneak that in there. Some clarification. If not, then we're gonna end the show. Chris, bring you in here. I need someone to talk to. Sounding board.
Okay.
What are your thoughts?
Got no thoughts on that question. That was kind of confusing to me too.
Well, what are your thoughts on the whole psychic stuff and mediums and charlatans and?
I've never seen a psychic myself. Always want to see, how I became the way I am, I guess.
Why are you the way that you are?
Yeah, exactly. But I haven't got the courage up to do that yet.
Oh, okay. So do you think when you go to the psychic, they'd see it coming?
Not if it's a big crowd.
I don't want to talk poorly. There's psychics are hard for me because there's that potential. There's a good cop and a bad cop. There's a good in everything. You really got, but I do like that concept of trusting the person. If the person feels good, the energy feels good, and you understand going in there, the information you're taking from it is like a horoscope. It's different, and also in masonry degrees, it's interpreted differently by the person receiving the information, depending on the place and time of where they're at in their life. But it's a tool. It's a guide, and the history can change. So in that sense, okay, if the psychic saw it, then the site of it is in the past. Oh, and you cannot change the past, and you cannot see something if it has not happened. I see what you're saying. So because she sees it, it solidifies the fate. So perhaps asking, you're finding out something that and making it a reality, because we're all going to die at some point. We're all, I wouldn't want to know how. I just, hope for an honorable and a quick and clean death, but you can only hope for that. What do you say? I hate temporal mechanics. Deep Space Nine now. Now you're getting into Deep Space Nine. Next gen, either Star Trek, the OG, or Next Generation. I like that. I haven't gotten to Picard yet. I wonder how that is. I thought about getting into that, but I think I got too busy and whatnot. All right, so I think it's getting close to time. I'm just reaching. A good psychic shouldn't have people pay them. Well, see, now we're okay. Ethics on payment. They're providing a service, right? As an investigator, people want my consultation, believe it or not, on some legal matters and things like that. If I get them on the phone and I talk to them for 10 minutes and I give them an idea, I got nothing for that. But I'm in the business, right? So they want to talk to me, then they got to talk. They got to pay for it because I went to school and I have the experience and I have the knowledge. There's a want for that. But that doesn't mean you can't throw in some extras and do whatever. And that's something that I would do depending on the situation. I don't think there's an issue paying for a service if you genuinely need the service, and after they, exactly what it is you're purchasing, and the results aren't guaranteed, right? So, I mean, if I were to compare investigations to psychic readings, real quick, I can't guarantee results, but I can guarantee the effort. I can guarantee the collection of evidence to build the case, but I can't guarantee that I'm going to find the hand in the cookie jar, even though that's what you want to prove. And I can't guarantee that the crime's being committed. Maybe it's not the way that you think it is, but you still got to pay me. So you pay up front. There's a retainer. That's the reason for a retainer. I do the work. I give the answers. I keep the money. Right? If the investigators don't, or sorry, the client doesn't like the answers, that's not my fault. I did the work. Right? So more time, more money, and then you kind of get complicated and things like that. So the psychics or any service in this industry, I think it's fair for them to charge for their time, not for the results, because the results, it's anybody's guess. Even when you have the ability to tap into, this other place that allegedly exists, which we can't prove. There's just collective evidence of something, existing, right? All right. Picard is crap. Okay. They try to redeem themselves in season 3, but failed in my opinion. I did hear that, which is part of the reason why I didn't watch it, because I didn't want to ruin my Next Generation vibe. I agree. Lockbeard says, I agree. A service is a service. It takes time, effort, training. If you do the job, you should get paid. Yeah. With like anything, you understand the conditions. And if you can't afford it, then that's a conversation you have with the individual. Make a payment plan, or I owe you, or whatever the person is willing to do. And that might be a way to kind of vet out who's doing it for money and who's doing it, who's trying to balance the life that we have to live with this other side of other things, which I'm doing too. I had to change the podcast to accommodate my personal life. I wish I could be a spiritual being all the time, but there are rules here on earth that I have to follow, until I can prove that this, living the way that we want to live happens. Went on a rant there. Lisa, there's psychics that work for the police and they deserve to be paid. Well, yeah, that information needs to be corroborated too, but oftentimes than not, if a psychic tells you the child's in the well, guess who suspect number 1 is? The psychic, right? They're going to interrogate the shit out of that psychic and say, how did you know this kid was in the well? That was a good hunch. I'm not going to believe that this is all spiritual. You knew that body was in there. And then you see what I'm saying? So there has to be, that's tricky. Are they being paid? They're not going to be hired for that. I don't think so. I don't think the government would actually pay a psychic. So I think that work would have to be volunteered, to be honest. We did have some people on the show that have done that work, but I never asked them if they got paid. So if we ever get one on that mentions that they do forensic work or psychic work for an agency, we should ask that question. And if I don't remember to ask it in the chat. right? Burn the witch. Well, if a spider's a witch, then burn it. I'll say that. I think witch is a derogatory term, to be honest. I don't think, and I know guys can be witches too, and I make a male witch, I think they call as a warlock. It's just a witch sounds to me evil and bad. But that could be because witch was always associated with depictions of evil and bad looking people. So there's that association with the word. And Wiccans, I don't know what the term is that they would prefer to call themselves, but there's like psychic mediums, that's technically anyone that is able to manipulate the alchemy, the science, and all that other stuff as technically a witch or a wizard or a warlock. They're scientists, essentially, just manipulating quantum energy. quantum witch. Those are such things, right? I hear the music. It's time to go. All right. Great. We do have a podcast next week. Hopefully we be more prepared. So yeah, just watch you guys. Need the world. See you next time.
If you want to really, really find out about Ryan, ask him about all his work and UFOs in Ontario.
Ryan is one of Canada's leading new UFO investigators. He conducts and oversees UFO investigations on a constant basis. She's compiled a tremendous amount of data regarding UFOs in Canada.
I have used his research extensively. He's much more than a one-dimensional character. He's an authority on UFOs and investigating them, Meg.
Wow!
Really goes over how UFO investigations are done and what are some of the mistakes that people make when they submit evidence. For starters, don't edit your videos or photos before you send them.
He would come out with an annual report on not only the number of sightings, but how many were unexplained, unknown, or just, nothing could be said. What caused
If you
it?
want to hear more follow-up conversation between Ryan and myself, you can go to richardolanmembers.com, where we have a candid conversation on ufology, the paranormal, and more. And remember, while we learn and grow and search for the truth, let's be good to each other.